What do you know about the Northern Lights? What are they about? Is that coming out of Agartha?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought so. What is it? Just like natural gas or something? What they're
No.
releasing?
No, it's EMF. That's EMF that you see. That's the you've seen in science. You know of cymatics where they put metal filings or sand onto a sheet of paper, whether it's a sheet of plastic, a sheet of some sort of sheet that holds the metal filings or the sand, and then they put sound either vibrated into it or underneath, and it causes these various symmetrical shapes. You've seen that.
Yeah, of course I have, yeah.
That's called cymatics. Now, when you do that with what you're talking about, cymatics will generate. So yes, what you're talking about is those northern lights. Is it in the air? Instead of seeing it on a solid surface, you're now seeing those magnetic waves, because those are actually magnetic waves, fields, what they call electromagnetic fields. That's what forms those different shapes. So what you're seeing coming out of the northern, out of the hole that leads into Agartha, is the magnetic field. And then the gases, as you say, that are coming out of the environment, or I don't know if ozone is the right word, but coming out of the atmosphere from Agartha, mixing with this atmosphere, you're getting a display of magnetic fields.
Is that what happens in Bermuda Triangle? Is that magnetic field?
Yeah, but Bermuda Triangle's magnetic fields. It's two pyramids in one. It's a pyramid facing up and a pyramid facing down, and that causes a distortion or opens up a stargate. Yeah.
So then people are going through a stargate that are going missing.
Yes. Into another place.
Will they be harmed, or will it be okay?
Andrew, I don't know. You see, I don't know where they are going. When we talk of guides, I want to try and give a bit of background so that we can actually. This is going to be aimed at those who want help on getting in touch with the psychic world or getting in touch with the guides. So unfortunately, for those who are in the know about the psychic world, or who already use the psychic world, I hope it's not boring for them. Maybe it gives them a different slant. I don't know. What I want to start off with, before we actually get into describing how to get in touch with your guides, I just want to say that a psychic power is not anything special. Everybody has it. It's just we don't always know how to use it or access it. So it's not a special, you can call it a gift, but it's just another part of our being. It's not something to get all egotistical about, that, well, now I'm special because I've got a sixth sense, or I've got another sight. It's not an ego thing. It's just a normal part of one's existence. So I want to try and, let's call it, debunk the fact, which I'm hoping would help those who can't see or hear. I'm hoping to help them by saying, not to make out that it's a special trait. Everyone can do it. So I'd like it that people realize that if you're going to think it's a special trait, for those who aren't there, they might think you have to try something much harder, or some special tricks, or some special blessing, or whatever you want to call it. It's actually just, it's a natural thing if you can just understand how to tap into it. And I'm hoping to be able to help people through the theory I'm going to give today, to help them access it.
So, do you think that we can read people's minds all the time, and we just don't know what we're actually doing? We don't know how to, if you like, process the information that's coming in, because no one's taught us what it is.
Yeah.
So, like when you get a feeling of deja vu or something, or something like that, or like when you get that cold feeling in your back, like telling you.
That's exactly it. the more you can listen to that, the more you can listen to the non-physical world. That's probably one of the best things, is what you're saying there. If you can just learn to listen more to the non-physical world than what you do to the world around you, you will start naturally opening yourself up to be able to grasp or access the psychic world. It's not a special science. We all just get a funny feeling about somebody. And that is what you should pay attention to, because the more you accept that type of other stuff, the more inclined you are to not feel awkward or funny about it. Another great help for people would be if they would just socialize with people who see other things. Now, I'm not talking about somebody who pretends to see. I'm talking about somebody who genuinely sees things. Another thing I could probably help people with is when... Let me try and give a viewpoint from a non-psychic and a psychic person's point of view. If I had to come to you and I had to say to you, there's a pink monkey sitting up in a tree on the other side of town, your psychic and your non-psychic are going to respond differently within to that statement. A psychic person is going to accept that the possibility exists. A non-psychic, or somebody who doesn't use their psychic abilities, is going to keep everything at arm's length. So it really starts within at the acceptance level of possibility. Maybe I could say it like this: a psychic accepts possibilities of things beyond what is accepted over the non-psychic. So psychic is not going to limit the possibilities of the universe, whereas everybody else is going to say, wait a minute, let me keep that at arm's length. So maybe if I could say to people, if you can just open up the possibility that something else exists, that is probably the start to being able to access your psychic world. So it's not a case of teaching or learning anything. It's a case of how you process things in your brain. I mean, if I would say to you, there's this UFO that's landed on the hill, people who are non-psychic or don't believe in that are just going to say, this guy's wacko, let's leave him. Whereas somebody who's psychic is going to be more, really? Is that, when did you see it? Is it still there? We've got a different way of processing information, a psychic versus a non-psychic. Before you even get into training or learning, it's a case of, let's just put it at that level of words, it's a case of possibility. A psychic doesn't limit possibilities.
What really got me into learning was martial arts. As soon as I started a martial art and I could see myself getting better at something, it's the first time in my life I ever seen myself getting better at something, and that gave me a boost then. Like, if you can do this, then you can obviously learn. If you put your mind to something and you train at something, then obviously you get better at it. If you see the monks and everything in Tibet, they're all into martial arts, and the katas and everything about movement. Do martial arts come from somewhere else?
I'm not going to get into it now, but I have many theories as to what the human can and cannot do, what the brain can and cannot do. The fact that we access other dimensions, we have to question, is it that we're tapping into the dimension, or is it that the dimension is reaching us? Which way around is it? When we can see something out there, is it that our brains are receivers, or is it that we transmitting? What is the brain? Is it a receiver, or is it a transmitter of information? Now we've got both, but let's just try and take it to a basic level. when we got these other things coming through from another place, is it that that thing is transmitting its energy out and we're simply receiving it? Or are we as a human brain going out and seeking it and picking it up? So I have my own theories as to what we as the human brain are capable of. If you want to develop your psychic abilities, hang around the psychics, and I'm talking genuine psychics who will expose you to other possibilities in this world. Like we'll say, well, did you feel that? Or did you see that? Or what did you pick up? We don't make it wrong. If somebody picks up something, we don't make it wrong because we're all tuned into a particular wavelength. But if somebody else says to me, I'm picking up something, then we realign our energy to that and we say, well, what did you pick up? So it is association is going to help you develop your psychic abilities. Just like you said, when you started learning martial arts, you associated with like-minded or like existence of people. So if you want to develop your psychic abilities, one of the best things to do is also associate with the right type of person, which means another psychic. The other thing that I want to also say when getting into the psychic world, society for many, many years, particularly during the Victorian age, locked up people and they made them wrong where they heard voices. And that stigma still rides today. If we can get rid of, these are for the non-psychics, if we can get rid of the stigma that there's not something wrong with you, that person would then be more inclined to be receptive to what's out there. But the fact that we've already got that resistance because society is making it wrong, that would open you up. That's why also when you become or when you start developing psychic powers, you don't want to tell everybody because people are going to knock you and make you feel bad, and that's going to stop your development. And that's again why it's important. Socialize with those who are accepting of this energy, this ability. Don't socialize with people who are going to knock you. It's going to defeat your own abilities. So choose who you socialize with, choose who you speak with. I speak with everybody and they can knock me as much as they want. People can say, no, you can't do that. You know what? I know what I know. I don't need confirmation from anybody else. I don't need somebody to tell me it is or it is not like that. So with the result, I'm comfortable with myself. I'm saying for the beginner, if the beginners are struggling to get there, don't talk about it. Know who you are socializing with and stick only with those people on this level, on your psychic development. Now, the guys will always give you the answers. The problem is we are not tuned in to hear the answers. It's not that the guides have got the problem, we've got the problem. So it's like you can have the most brilliant, let's talk on radio. You can have the most brilliant power station putting out the waves full. But if you've got a weak receiver, I don't care how close that transmitter is. If you've got a weak receiver, you're not going to get the message. So it comes again, that alignment. And that's where the positive and negative, which I talked about, the two poles of the pituitary and the pineal, if they are not in line with each other, if they're not tuned into each other, you're not going to pick up stuff. So it's not the transmitter that's got the problem. It's us as a receiver that we're not listening to that. No, it's not a planetary thing. It goes beyond the physical. Because remember, we're picking up energies from beyond even this universe. You can pick up energy, or you can pick up information, pictures that are beyond this universe. So we're not lined up here. That's why when you look at your non-physical abilities, your psychic abilities, they're not resident to this place. Let's talk a bit about that. We have the physical component as to this body that you see of me now. But there's a non-physical component to me, which we generally, I don't want to go into mind. Let's not go into mind now. Let's look at the non-physical component, which most philosophies talk about as the soul. Now that soul, we want to know where, people, I assume most listening to this accept or are aware that we have a super soul or a higher soul, whatever you want to call it. We have to question to ourselves, and this is where I'm saying, open your mind to possibility. The question becomes, where does that super soul or that higher soul reside? Where is it? Now, if you can open up that super soul transcends the entire material world, the entire material existence, it transcends time. If you can start getting your mind to just, or even just open yourself up to the possibility that that exists, Andrew, you start aligning yourself with it. So your psychic ability does not come from this being. It does not come from my pineal and my pituitary, which is now how you can actually transcend the limitations that we've been told about our pineal gland. When you start realizing you tap into your higher self or your super soul, that is actually your transmitter and receiver. So when you start realizing you don't want to limit your psychic abilities to this brain or this body, you want to realize that you are in touch with everything. Go beyond the physical. Go beyond any material aspect, beyond this universe. And if you start tapping into your non-physical abilities, if you can start just opening yourself up to the possibility that I have my actual, real, true, higher self somewhere else, let me try and align with that. If you can align yourself with that other true part of you, you're more likely to access your psychic ability. These magicians and these famous people that we have that could do these magic and abilities, they weren't using this physical body. They weren't using this physical brain. And they weren't even going through their pineal. This vehicle, simply because I can speak to you, one assumes that everything's coming from this. It's not coming from me, what you see in front of you on the screen. It's actually coming from another place, another dimension, another, whatever you want to call it, another intensity, another plane, another dimension, whatever you want to call it. That's actually what feeds it into this, and then this just passes it on into this three-dimensional world.
Like a hologram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why this is not the real world.
Yeah.
We are not, when we think we are not in the real world. This three-dimensional world is not the real world. It goes beyond any material thing you see. Nothing of this. We think this is solid. I mean, science has proven us to the space from the inner part of the atom to the next, let's call it electron, or the next orbit of that atom. Look at that space. Now, if we can contact, I don't have my picture here now. Get yourself, you might get the ultraviolet and the infrared spectrum of light, and then look on that scale, what is visible light? Now, when you have a look at how much space visible light, what we can see in this world, you'll notice that on average, let's just call it at a level of words, we can only see 1/30th of the full spectrum of what exists with these eyes. Now the question is, we can tap into everything. Where, as you said right in the beginning, you'll go walk into a room, or you'll meet a person and you just don't, you get like chills. Something is not right. When you need to ask, what is that, and what are you using to tap into there? Because we're not using this brain. That is not from this brain. That is from something else that exists. Then you start looking at auras, and we start going bigger and bigger. I mean, it doesn't stop, but it is infinite. So we need to realize, if we want to look at the guides are, how far do they go? Where do they come from? Are they within this dimension that we exist? I'm not talking the three-dimensional, but a parallel world within this, but on another frequency, still within this. And how far does that frequency go? I mean, a magnet, how far does a magnet's energy, how far can it attract something, a physical magnet that we get? How far can it attract? Let's work with something that we all generally accept called gravity. Now, how far does gravity go? I mean, the aeroplane can be a kilometer up in the sky, it will still come down. And the gravity, whether it's that high up or whether it's 1 meter off the ground, that gravity is more or less the same. So the question becomes, how far does that gravity actually reach? What we call EMF. How far does it extend? Now, EMF can be called another dimension. Yeah. Although it's an interaction of dimensions, the entire concept when it comes together can be classified as yet another dimension of its own. But it's a possibility if you can just open up, and this is why they're trying to condition us to be thinking along one way. Science is trying to get us to condition our minds to one way, and as part of this paradigm that we're here, this matrix or this construct, it's designed for a reason to have us be conditioned. But if you can just to develop your psychic abilities, if you can just open your mind up to the possibility, just think on that.